Today on Washington TV, Obama vows support for new Lebanese government. Obama and Netanyahu hold constructive talks by phone. U.S. envoy reaffirms commitment to Israel's security. North Korea says it will use nukes in reprisal for any attack. Hezbollah chief accepts Lebanon election defeat. In Iran's last presidential debate, Rezai criticizes Ahmadinejads' economic management. And the supporters of Moussavi and Ahmadinejad take to the streets of Tehran. These stories and more at televisionwashington.com.
Today in Washington. U.S. President Obama yesterday vowed solidarity with Lebanon's new government and congratulated the Lebanese people for a peaceful national election. Sunday's vote produced a surprising defeat by a pro-Western coalition against Hezbollah, the Iranian and Syrian-backed militant group that Washington classifies as a terrorist organization. Obama said, quote, "Once more the people of Lebanon have demonstrated to the world their courage and the strength of their commitment to democracy." The U.S. State Department also congratulated the Lebanese people for Sunday's parliamentary election and urged the formation of a government without outside interference. U.S. President Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had constructive talks by phone yesterday, ahead of the premier's speech on the Middle East peace process next week. The White House said in a statement, "The president reiterated the principal elements of his Cairo speech, including his commitment to Israel's security." A statement by Netanyahu's office said that the talks were positive and covered a range of subjects. Netanyahu also told Obama that he intends to lay out the broad outlines of his government's policy to secure peace and security in his speech next week. U.S. envoy to the Middle East George Mitchell today assured Israel that Washington would remain its close ally, despite differences over the Middle East peace process. Before meeting Israel's President Shimon Peres in Jerusalem, Mitchell said, quote, "Let me be clear. There are not disagreements among adversaries. The United States and Israel will remain close allies and friends." Mitchell, who will meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman later in the day, also reaffirmed America's commitment to Israel's security. The U.S. envoy is due to meet Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank city of Ramallah on Wednesday. Today's top stories. In an open letter today, Expediency Council Chief Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani called on Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei to react to the accusations which President Ahmadinejad has leveled against Rafsanjani's family in the course of the June 12th presidential election campaign. Rafsanjani said that Ahmadinejad's comments during a debate with rival presidential candidate Mir Hossein Moussavi last week were devoid of reality and irresponsible. And he explained that Ahmadinejad's actions were aimed at eclipsing the documented and repeated reports of the state audit court concerning the disappearance of $1 billion and the perpetration of several thousand violations in the implementation of the budgets. In the letter, Hashemi Rafsanjani also said that Ahmadinejad's comments indirectly targeted the position of the Supreme Guide, and at the time to the leadership of the deceased Imam, as well as that of Your Eminence Khamenei, who has acted as a guide to governments and has approved and praised the managers of the system. The head of the Assembly of Experts noted that millions of people inside and outside the country were witness to the lies and falsehoods, which aim to dent the glories of the Islamic system. He said, quote, "To raise questions about the decisions of the founder of the Islamic Republic of Iran and the struggles of the departed Imam and those of the Muslim and committed people and the respected clergy could not be any worse than this." While saying that he does not wish to compare the current government to the government of Bani Sadr, Iran's first post-revolution president who was impeached in 1981, Rafsanjani added, quote, "The point is that the country must be prevented from a fate similar to that time." In view of Khamenei's position, responsibility, and persona, Rafsanjani said he expects the Supreme Leader to act effectively and at his discretion to solve this problem and dangerous nuisance, and to put out the fire, the smoke of which is currently visible in the atmosphere, and prevent the fire from spreading further during and after the course of the election. North Korea today warned that it would use its nuclear weapons in a merciless offensive if provoked, raising already tense ties between the reclusive state and the international community. The threat comes as the United Nations Security Council is working to impose additional sanctions against the North to punish it for its nuclear test on May 25th. Yesterday, the North's main Rodong Sinmon Daily said that the country will consider any sanctions a declaration of war, and would respond with self-defense measures. U.S. President Obama said on Saturday that the North's actions were extraordinarily provocative and vowed that its behavior would not be rewarded. Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah yesterday accepted the results of Lebanon's parliamentary election, in which his opposition alliance was defeated by a pro-Western bloc. He said, quote, "We accept these results with sportsmanship and in a democratic way, and we accept that the ruling camp has achieved the parliamentary majority." Nasrallah also congratulated his political rivals and urged the new lawmakers to preserve the faith of their electors. Today's election news. In the last presidential election debate broadcast live by Iran's state-run television yesterday, President Ahmadinejad and former Guards Corps commander Mohsen Rezai focused on the state of the economy in Iran and avoid arguing over controversial issues to do with Iran's foreign policy, citizens' rights, or civil society. Ahmadinejad began by criticizing the remarks of his rivals, Mir Hossein Moussavi and Mehdi Karoubi, who yesterday called him a liar, and dismissed the statistics offered by him on the rate of inflation as incorrect. Ahmadinejad said that these criticisms were tantamount to slander and contravened ethics and law. He next told his competitor Rezai that justice was pivotal to his economic programs, and defending his government's economic programs and performance, he said that his critics were wrong to say that Iran's economy was in a bad shape. On the contrary, he said, existing data indicated that Iran had undergone serious growth during his term in office. Rezai countered by saying that Iran's average annual rate of inflation is 25% and unemployment rate is 12%. He added that all the statistics indicated that the economy was not doing very well, and that if the current trend continued, the economic situation would become even worse. Rezai then reiterated that he would pursue his goal of bringing about an economic revolution in Iran, on the basis of a federal economic model, which he has offered. He also told Ahmadinejad to refrain from making up numbers and falsifying when offering statistics. Ahmadinejad in turn defended his government, criticized Rezai for not being familiar with Iran's bureaucratic system and lacking in administrative experience. The election headquarters of President Ahmadinejad announced yesterday that it had canceled a speech which the president was due to deliver at Tehran's prayer center, in an urge to protect the lives of the people because of the presence of a million-strong crowd of Tehranis at the venue. According to the semi-official Fars news agency, Ahmadinejad did not enter the prayer center, where thousands of his supporters had gathered to hear him, but he did not deliver his speech. The government spokesperson Gholam Hossein Alham apologized on behalf of Ahmadinejad, saying that in an urge to avoid disrupting order, the president was unable to reach the podium and he apologizes. Meanwhile, last night the supporters of Mir Hossein Moussavi turned out in huge numbers to form a human chain which they claimed ran the entire length of the capital's main north-south avenue, some 17 kilometers. WashingtonTV's report from Tehran also indicates that supporters of the four presidential candidates are pouring onto the streets in the evenings to express support for their respective candidates and argue and talk about the election and its outcome until late into the night. These stories and more at TelevisionWashington.com.